Good morning. Welcome. Today's topic is coping with holidays and cancer with Sunny Jones Ford, LCSW. The description of today is the holidays can stir up a wide range of emotions, including joy, grief, hope, exhaustion, anxiety, gratitude, and everything in between. This workshop offers a supportive conversational space to explore the complexities of the season, learn tools for emotional regulation, and discover ways to create authentic moments of connection and joy without forcing cheerfulness or pretending to be okay. Participants will gain practical skills to navigate gatherings, family interactions, and internal emotional landscapes with more ease and self-compassion. I think this is such a great relevant topic, whether you are in treatment for something or, just the holiday season. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. All right.
The floor is
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that intro. And so thank you to everyone here and for being here and allowing me into your space. So I'm happy to be back. And so what I'm going to do is actually start off by sharing my slides. Just as a heads up, I do like to have the opportunity for my voice to not be the only voice in the room. And so there'll be a little check-in and also time for dialogue for anyone who's comfortable to do so as well too. So I want to keep this as interactive as possible, just so everyone is getting as much as they can out of this as well too, and sharing of their experiences in any ways that feel good to you. So I'm going to start off with sharing my slides. So let me do that now. Okay. Okay. Is everyone able to see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I heard the yes and the head nods. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So navigating the holidays with self-compassion. And so that's something that I think can is not always easy to do, but can also be possible as well too. So I want to spend some time on this topic and how we can actually lean into this as well, but lean into this in a way that actually feels like it resonates to you without it feeling like you're actually pretending versus actually leaning into the feelings that you're experiencing and then having tools to also navigate those feelings as well. Okay. All right. So here's a roadmap. So I do like to give a sense of like where we're going, what we're doing here, so that you have a sense of it for nervous system regulation reasons as well too, because I'm really big on nervous system regulation. So the first thing is a welcome and a mindful moment. So I'll actually take a second to ground first before we get into the content. We'll do a group check-in and dialogue. We'll explore the emotional landscape of the holidays. So just exploring like what can feel hard about the holidays from your personal experiences. And then I'll also just offer up some reasons as well too and then go into some tools and strategies. So as I mentioned before, I do like to also be practical. So like practical things that you can also do as well. And I'm sure you already have ideas for yourself or things you've already done. So please feel free to also share as well in terms of what has worked for you, as well as things that are feeling difficult as well too. And then we'll go into our closing and just some intention setting as well. Okay. All right. So here's a welcome. This is a welcome I like to do at the beginning of any workshop that I do. And it's just an invitation to get comfortable if you haven't already. And so I have tea here with me. And so whether that's with tea, with water, whatever feels good to you, really thinking about where you're sitting and if it's a place where you're feeling comfortable as well. And just the invitation that this is not a place where you have to be on and that you can arrive exactly how you are. The ask is if you can, not always doable and understandable as well too, that you have your camera on so we can be in presence with one another. And so this is a time for connection and self-care and presence of mind. Even if you can't have your camera on, we can still do that as well too. And so offering also this reminder, should it resonate, that there is no right or wrong way to feel during the holidays. Sometimes it can feel that way. And all feelings, of course, are welcome here. Okay. So in terms of the mindful moment, there's a few cues here, and feel free to do whatever feels best for you. And so for this mindful moment, we're going to take a few breaths and just come into present moment. And so I'll guide you through that, but please feel free once again to do what feels best for you. So literally, if that means just sitting for a second in silence, then do that as well. So the ask is to take a second to sit comfortably. So actually take a second to ask yourself if you're sitting comfortably. You maybe want to close your eyes or lower your gaze. I'm going to lower my gaze. And when you're taking a second to ask yourself if you're sitting comfortably, you may even want to like ask yourself, like, does my spine feel supported? You may even want to place your feet flat on the ground or your soles of your shoes flat on the ground so that you actually feel and register the support of the floor underneath your feet as well too. You maybe want to take a second to just do a couple of like shoulder rolls if that feels good to you, because sometimes that can help us to just be able to be more present and more inward and get a sense of if we're actually feeling comfortable. If it feels good to you, place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. When you do that, you may feel, of course, your stomach contracting and extending as you're breathing in and out, which of course is normal. And the hand over your heart, you may even feel your heartbeat as well too. So it's just another way to be more present in the moment. Take a second before you alter your breath or change your breath to ask yourself if you're feeling comfortable in terms of your breath. Does your breath feel nourishing right now? Or do you feel like you would like to make your breath a little bit deeper? If you would like to make your breath a little bit deeper, then consider actually imagining air going through the mouth, through the throat, through the chest, and into the belly. So imagine the air going into the belly, maybe even imagine the air swirling around the belly, helping to nourish and oxygenate the body. And then imagine the air going back through the chest, back through the throat, and then out of the mouth with a long, exaggerated exhale. Now continue to breathe maybe in that same way and imagining the air actually passing through the mouth, through the throat, through the chest and into the belly, deep, deep in the belly. And then imagine the air going back through the chest, back through the throat, and out of the mouth with a long exaggerated exhale. And as you exhale, maybe even place your hands to your sides and allow your shoulders to naturally drop as you exhale in a way to help you to ground and also to relax as well too. So do any of those things, none of those things, whatever feels good to you. And then when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, feel free to open them. Or if your gaze is lowered, then feel free to bring your gaze back. And then when you're ready, just give me a thumbs up after you're coming out of your mindful moment. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Okay. So we're going to move into a group check-in, and this is an opportunity for my voice to not also be the only voice in the room. Now, the feelings wheel that you see here, you may not be able to fully see it because I do know that the wording is a little bit is little. And so what I will do is in the chat right now, I will place the website where you can find this feelings wheel, and you may or may not need this. But basically, I'm just going to ask like, how are you feeling around this topic? Maybe even how you're feeling today. So if you're open to it, if you could just say your name and how you're feeling as well today or feeling about this topic, whatever you would like to share. And so the website for this will is a feelingswheel.com. So I'll put that in the chat in case you want to pull it up, but not a have to, because you also may just know how you're feeling without using the feelings wheel. So feelingswheel.com. Okay. So I put that in the chat should you want to actually use the feelings wheel and see it a little bit closer. And otherwise, I'm curious if anyone would like to come off of mute if you're on mute, or if anyone would like to start off by saying their name and how they're feeling today. Okay. Yes, I see Lucy. Yes.
My name is Lucy, and I've just had my fourth chemo, and this is the first time I've had cancer. I'm 85. And Christmas for me is actually a time of a religious observance rather than, Santa Claus or anything. So I've been obsessed with hoping I don't miss being able to go to church on Christmas Eve. It looks like I'll be fine to go. I think that what's the place that I'm in is a kind of I'm still struggling with acceptance that this is happening to me. I've sort of got the why me's, you know. I'm moving a little past that into acceptance, I hope, because why not me? I mean, uh, and especially seeing other people who are going through or have been through the same thing is very helpful to me. So I think mostly what I'm worried about is just staying or moving better into acceptance at this time, especially at this time, or at any time really, but and not being so frightened or asking myself why is this happening to me or whining and complaining inside my head, um, and to kind of get with what I would ordinarily be doing at this time of year as an observance of what's coming up on December 25th. So that's really it's just nice to be among people who are in different stages of this kind of, I guess, just reaching acceptance. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing and also sharing like the multiple feelings that you're holding all at once as well too. So and also I imagine also this feels very different when you also would just like to just go on the 25th and not have to think about these things and you are. And so thank you so much for sharing. Okay. Would anyone else like to go next with your name and how you're feeling, whatever you feel comfortable sharing in? I see C. Perkins. I see a hand raised. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I feel mixed as well. Um, and though I've been a survivor twice, this time of year, uh, one of my very close family members passed away, and her birthday is right right before the holiday, like a day or two. So uh, even though I didn't really focus on her birthdays, we didn't. Now that she's not here. I'm like, oh, I can't even think about that day because even though we may not have celebrated, we kind of called each other and teased each other about that day, when it would come up. Now that's no more. But so I have mixed emotions, and yet still, I'm sitting here at an imaging place because one of my good friends is getting her biopsy today. So she asked me to come along. So while she's inside, I'm just waiting out here, and I'm glad I'm able to join this um, so that I can be as positive when she comes out as well.
Thank you for being here. And I also hear that you're multitasking as well. So you're being of support to a friend as well, too. And so I hear multiple emotions happening for you as well during the season. And so it sounds like taking care of yourself, but then also you're being there for others as well, too. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Would anyone else like to go next?
I'll go next. I'm Victoria, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling calm and peaceful. And for me, this time of year is um, not so much religious as a spiritual time of year. I have rituals that I do, like watching Jesus of Nazareth, the Franco Zeffirelli film. And I have celebrate all the different holidays with all the different friends who are different religions. So it's about um, taking care of myself means making sure I reach out and have those connections with all the people in my life who have come into my life. There's new people who have come into my life and old people who have come into my life. And I make an effort to share. For some people, it's a difficult time. I have a friend who also lost her husband um, just in the last month, and I did get to spend time with her and her son and my family. We have a new grandbaby coming in January, so that's something to look forward to. I'm also in the middle of treatment and trying to be in the moment with it and not project what's, uh, but I'm blessed that I feel as good as I do feel. I'm not struggling, in terms of feeling sick. So I'm taking advantage of that and still taking my walks, even in the cold, and, going to see all the Christmas windows up on Upper Fifth Avenue and the tree at Rockefeller Center. And, and it's good.
All right. Well, happy to hear that you're feeling good, which is really important. And it also sounds like you have your own rituals or things that you like to do that you're leaning into as well too. And so happy to hear that as well. And I think it is really I love that you're highlighting that you do feel good. And at the same time that you're also making sure that you're doing things that it sounds like that bring you joy as well. Yeah.
That's my goal.
Okay.
A cultivator of joy.
I love that. Yeah. So we're going to talk about joy. We're going to talk about all the feelings. We're going to talk more about joy. So I'd love to hear when we get there, like how you cultivate that joy. Okay.
Be glad to.
Would anyone else like to go next? Okay. It's also not a have to as well, of course. So just want to give anyone an opportunity who would like to introduce themselves. So I'll give a few more seconds just in case anyone else would like to. I see Joan Griffiths, Vega. Yes, I see your hand raised.
Hi, am I?
Hi.
Hi. Well, this is incredibly appropriate for me to be thinking about this now. I feel we're, we're having trouble with our boiler, and needless to say, it's not a particularly great time to have lots of cold in the house. So hopefully it will be resolved by Friday. But it's sort of I'm surprised at how frustrated I feel that this can't be fixed. The person who's fixing it through a very reputable company is trying the best he can, but it's just a whole silly set of snafus, and people are not really extending themselves like that extra 10% to order the part and overnight it, things like that. So I'm highly distracted, which I'm very surprised about because I'm usually not a distractible person. I'm very focused. So so I've been not able to really pay attention to the fact that a week from Friday is Christmas. I'm a person who's inclined to celebrate the solstice, which I look forward to on Sunday. Um, I'm going to be involved with it online with some solstice activities. I'm trying between now and the new year to hear some music in the city. And I think um, I heard about this hotel that's behind the Rockefeller Center. It's on Madison, and it's called Palace Hotel. And it, it was, I heard it actually, I heard it during my infusion on Monday. A nurse was telling a chemo patient about this hotel. It's incredibly well decorated. It has uh, a center area which has a tree that is more beautiful than the Rockefeller tree. So it's like it's 51st, 50th on Madison if you want to wander a block east from the Rockefeller tree. I'm really, believe it or not, I'm really psyched to see this particular tree and the lobby and it has a bakery. So I mean, what more can you ask for? So when I think about, it's really funny when I think about this, it makes me very happy. And so I look forward to writing. I feel like I've withdrawn over the last year from a lot of people. So I look forward this weekend to writing a lot of postcards, not necessarily Christmas cards, but postcards, and sending saying hello to a lot of people, and maybe even making phone calls to see what they're up to. So
Thank you so much for sharing. As you were talking, I could feel your excitement. So I was getting excited thinking about like the tree that you want to see in the bakery and things of that sort. And I also appreciate, once again, just all of the emotions from the frustration you're feeling, and feeling the distraction, but also what you're looking forward to. And it's also been really nice to hear how different people in the room are also celebrating this holiday season as well too. So I also hear the solstice is what you're looking forward to as well. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. All right. Would anyone else like to do a check-in with their name and how they're feeling? Okay. All right. Thank you for everyone who shared so far, and there'll be other opportunities to also share as well, should you feel comfortable doing so. Hey, so the emotional landscape of the holidays. We've already started talking about this through the check-in. What I have listed here are things that are just some factors, nothing new, nothing that you haven't maybe thought about before, but just to be able to just to name it, just some of the factors that can make the holidays feel difficult, as well as of course, there's moments around the holidays that don't feel so difficult, and I also hear things that people are looking forward to as well too. So some factors that can lead to difficult feelings and even sometimes even emotional overwhelm as well. The holiday pressure to feel cheerful. For some of us, we feel that it's a time where it's almost like the expectation in a lot of ways. Emotional fatigue or stress, and that can be for a lot of different reasons. It could be for reasons that happened prior to the month of December as well. So there can be the building of fatigue or stress, or even this just the stress itself around the holidays. There can also be challenging family dynamics as well. So there can be that's also present. Of course, we can also have supportive family dynamics as well too. But there can be aspects of family dynamics that are challenging that can also play into this. There can also be, and this may not be everyone's experience, but there can be moments where there might be intrusive questions about health, or there might be moments where you might not necessarily want to talk about your health as well too, or may catch you off guard. So there's that piece as well too. Or maybe you do want to talk about it, but when you do, there could also be some emotions that come to the surface as well. And then there can be the feeling of just feeling disconnected, and sometimes even just feeling a bit isolated or alone. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have connection with others, but we can still feel a bit isolated or alone even when we're with others as well too, especially if you're experiencing something that might feel different than what other people are experiencing as well. So these are just some of the factors that can, of course, play a role for sure. So, in terms of just some discussion questions, and feel free to pick one. And if one question here, because I see that there's three, and I know that can be overwhelming to have three questions in front of you. But feel free to pick one question and share in your experience. Should you like to, also not a have to. And so, curious if any of these questions resonate with anyone. The first one is, are you dreading health-related questions? Is that something that's been in your experience or something that could come up for you? How do you respond when someone asks you a question that feels too personal or mistimed? Are there any holiday narratives that you're experiencing that feel pressuring? So maybe getting into more of like any difficult feelings you might be experiencing around it, but also maybe how you've handled it as well. And then I have a little bonus here, so feel free to pick one of these questions if anything resonates and if anyone would like to share, no pressure. And then the bonus is, since we're talking about emotional regulation and really just taking care of ourselves, which is just really a universal thing that we can, of course, do year round. And so the bonus is if or the ask is, it's just to notice how you feel after verbally sharing with us, or even if you're reading these questions and answering them for yourself but not sharing out loud. Just take a second to think about how you're feeling in your body, including just even temperature, heart rate, emotions, thoughts, and images that are coming up for you as you answer these questions, either for yourself or in the group as well. 'Cause it's just good to keep a sense of like how you're feeling as well too. Okay. So curious if anyone would like to share here in answering one of these questions that's on the screen. Or anything that's coming up for anyone. I'll give you a second as well too to read the question and to take it in. Okay. If I just want to make sure that to give people time to also think. So if you're still thinking about it and you want to share, if you'll just raise your hand, and then if not, we can keep going. But I think these are good questions just to like keep in mind as well as like the bonus. I see one hand raised. Yes.
Um, so, in response to how to respond to people who ask a question, um, I appreciate their interest, unless it feels voyeuristic. You know, that's not the best word for it, but it feels somehow intrusive, and it depends on the person. It really depends on the person. I've had the experience where someone has laid out all of their illness and then, turned to me and essentially said, "And you?" And and I really didn't want to share with this particular person. And so I said, and I will say to people, um, I I don't wish to talk about it. I wish to be in this present moment. And since this is a social occasion, I'd rather be social than telling my narrative. And I have said I don't like to keep repeating my story to people because I dwell and then in the past rather than the present. And some people look sort of squiffy after that, and other people really get it. So um, I know that when I was in the midst of treatment, I only spoke to a few people about the details because, again, I was more inclined to be really excited about talking to someone rather than being in the um, vulnerable place of being ill. I didn't. It was a way to create a relief to talk to somebody else rather than run through the. I don't have a good rapport with repeating the same story over and over and over again. I'm not that way inclined. So yeah, that's it. It depends on the person. Depends on how I feel at the moment. And I'm able to say I don't want to talk about it right now. That's like, I guess, summating it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And that leads well into our next slide, but I also see another hand raised as well too.
Yeah,
Victoria Rosen. Yeah.
yeah. Hi, I'm right there with you, Joan. I remember going to a Thanksgiving when I was first in treatment, and the first time my family all um, didn't know, and I hadn't shared because it wasn't immediate family. And I said, because they saw I had no hair, and I said, what I had and that I'm in the middle of it. And then I said, and I don't really want to talk about it today. I'm here to celebrate Thanksgiving with all of you, and I hope you'll respect that. And I think that's like an easy and perfect way to respond to people, not in a in an angry way or it's just like, I don't really want to talk about it. And there's other times when you really do, just like Joan said, you really do want to talk about it. It depends on who's in front of you. But for me, mostly like all of these questions, none of them really feel pertinent to me. And I feel like the truth for me is it's about, I've come to a place of acceptance. And that is, so I don't dread health, questions. I feel like if there's something too personal, I just say, I don't really feel to talk about that, or, and I don't put myself in pressuring situations. If I feel pressured, I might leave, or I don't know, I'd find, a way to not have to make myself feel that way. But I just want to say though that like acceptance doesn't mean that you're like, there's an idea in spiritual life about surrendering, and surrendering doesn't mean that you don't try to heal yourself, or that you are giving up. It's really a different kind of surrendering, that you're saying yes to what is, and you're not resisting. You're, you're doing the needful and you're moving forward. So that's kind of how I navigate the difficult, like for me, holidays are not difficult, as long as I make sure I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, so that you're feeling less pressure because you're in a place where you're able to look at the what is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. C Perkins. I saw your hand next, and then I see one other hand raised as well too, so we'll make sure to get to you. C Perkins.
So I think the hardest thing for me is dreading health related questions. Even for myself, where I have to make that decision and based upon various different research or talking to others. I listen intently to this group. You know, I would love to ask, Joan a question. I'm sorry, I meant, yeah, Joan a question to understand more if her infusion is something related to her bones or anything, because that's something that I have to make a decision on still. So, but I dread those other health related questions to someone else, but even to myself to have to even make those. So,
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So I hear you saying that it's not just other people asking. It sounds like for you, it's also you thinking about the decisions that you need to make, and the feelings that are coming up around that for yourself. So feeling maybe some dread there, or insert a different feeling, whatever that feeling is, but having feelings
correct,
about having to even make these kind of decisions. Yeah.
correct.
Thank you. I heard someone's voice. I was going to go to, I am not sure who it was. Someone speaking. Okay, okay. All right. Lucy, if you'll let me know how to say your last name, because I don't want to butcher it.
It's okay. Nobody can say it. Coomerly.
Coomerly. Got it. Okay, so Lucy Coomerly. Got it.
Um, uh, I would say, I feel very lucky that I've lived in my building a long time and I'm in a sort of neighborly part of Manhattan. And I know a lot of people through different, and I don't feel, if somebody asks me how I'm doing, I tell them how I'm doing briefly. I don't want to complain. It doesn't help me to do that. But I can just say, I'm having a tough day from the chemo, or really tired today or something like that. And I ask people quite frankly, because one of the things I've had is extreme fatigue. So when I hear about people going downtown to see the lights and everything. There's no way I'm going to I'm going to do that. But I ask people to walk me. I kid like, pretend I'm your dog. Would you take me for a walk? And we walk in the park. And if somebody asks me, even somebody whose name I don't even know, but who lives in the building and say, how are you doing? Because it seems that everybody knows. I just say how I'm doing. I say, well, I'm really tired today. And then I just change the subject. I think it's nice of them to ask. It feels good for me to say that things are fine or I'm having a tough day or whatever, but I just leave it at that. I don't need to, then I just want to, because what I really want is to not be inside my head. So talking to somebody in the lobby, in the park, in the elevator, or when friends come by, I want to engage with them and not just be like, oh, it's all about me and my chemo. And because it brings me out of myself and gives me a great deal of pleasure and joy. So when somebody asks me how I feel, I can just say, well, I'm having a tough day or everything's good. And then I ask them about their kid or their dog or whatever, or if they're a friend, then we just start talking. So it hasn't really been an issue for me.
Yeah, I see C. Perkins giving the hand clap emoji, so it sounds like that resonated. I don't want to speak for you, but I did see that, and so I wanted to acknowledge that as well too. And so what I hear you saying is that you you're okay with giving a little bit of information, and you want to have other conversations. You want to talk about other things that are going on in your life, because we're all still dynamic people and have other things happening in the world and with yourself and with others, and so you want to share
Ah,
that.
I want to hear about them too.
Sorry, I missed the last part. You want to hear about,
I want to hear about them.
oh, about them. Yes, you want to hear about them too. Yeah. So that connection, because that's what connection is. And so you want to maintain those connections. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Before we move on, honestly, a lot of the slides are going to repeat a lot of what you just said, because we're going to go into some of the tools, which I figured a lot of you already have. So some of them may just be reminders. But curious if anyone else wanted to say anything before we move on. Okay. Thank you for everyone who shared. It's really nice to hear the experiences and also the different experiences too, because it sounds like different people are having different experiences around what they're dreading or not dreading or how they're feeling as well. Okay. So here's some tools, and these tools really fit into a lot of what a lot of you were already saying as well too. And so the first few are reflective, so the tools that can help you to be reflective around how you're feeling. And then there's an additional tool that's more about things you can do in the moment when emotions rise. A lot of the tools really serve a lot of the same purposes, but one may speak to you more than another, or one may be one that's more similar to what you already do as well too. And so if you have any thoughts along the way, this is interactive. Also, of course, feel free to also chime in if anything comes to mind as I'm going through these tools. So this first one is SIFT, and so what it's encouraging is to by sensations. It's encouraging you to become aware of, similar to the question I asked you earlier around our first dialogue question. But just take a moment to get a sense of what's actually happening in your body. And what I mean by that is that if you're thinking about a topic or if someone asks you a question, so you might do this maybe after the question is asked. Are you actually feeling warm? Are you like, is your face feeling flushed? Are you experiencing even in your stomach, does your stomach feel tighter? Are you experiencing your muscles feeling tighter? Things of that sort. So just even paying attention to how your body is reacting. And then again, it can also go in the other direction in the sense that you may have a conversation with someone and you actually feel lighter afterwards. There's just a nice interaction and maybe unexpected. So being able to, so it's not just about the heavy things, but even just being able to and you may already have a sense of this, but what does it feel like when it's also lighter topics, or not even a lighter topic, but something that's a heavier topic, but by talking about it, you feel lighter. And so what does that feel like in your body? The next piece is I, and the I is images. So just being aware of, because like oftentimes when we are thinking or feeling emotions, there are images that can come to mind for some of us. So we may be seeing something within our mind's eye around the topic. And so just the awareness of like what that is as well too. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's hard for you. And it could be something where the image is making more feelings come up for you as well too. But just the awareness of it can help you to really like reflect and like work through it. And then, of course, identification of any feelings that are coming up as well too. And so, this is like the first one. The S is tuning in more into your body. The I, so it's really tuning into your senses. The I is tuning into any images that are coming up. And then the feelings, just identifying any feelings that are also coming up for you. And trying to separate out as much as you can feelings from any thoughts that are also arising as well too. So this is the first tool, which is sift. The next is rain. And so rain, another reflective tool, is R is recognize. So it's just taking a second, again, reflective. So you may not be doing this in the moment. That's great if you can do this in the moment when you're having a conversation with someone. If that doesn't happen, that's okay. So it may be after the fact, but it's recognize what's happening for you in the moment. And so that's feelings. It also feels very similar to what Victoria Rosen was speaking to around accepting the what is, which is not always easy, but just recognizing what is, or so what was coming up for you, allowing it, because sometimes when we feel emotions that don't feel so great, we might try to push them away. But oftentimes when we push them away, they actually fight back and get louder, or they might go away for a little while and they may come back at some point. And so it is the allowing of, and the allowing can be naming your emotion, is another way of saying that. So allowing the emotion, or what it is you're experiencing to be present. You don't always have to investigate, because we don't have to investigate every feeling that comes up necessarily. But if it's something that is coming up for you again and again, then maybe you do want to investigate, but maybe try to recognize and allow first before you maybe go into investigating. Because sometimes when we start investigating an emotion, we're trying to fix it. We're trying to figure out a way out of it. And so the investigating could be, maybe thinking about like what we think maybe could be some of the causes of the emotion, or what some of the discomfort is, or even the investigate is just the fact that you're experiencing it and you may not know exactly why, but it's just present. So that's where some acceptance can come in as well too. The N is nurture. So the nurture is taking care of yourself. So you're experiencing the emotion, and it may feel, if it's an emotion that feels uncomfortable, then you're recognizing it, you're allowing it. Maybe you're doing some investigating around the emotion. And then it's also equally as important that you're also nurturing yourself through the process as well too. And so it depends on the situation, of course, but that could look like the nurture could look like, I know it's cold right now in New York, but it could look like going for a walk. It could look like listening to music, breath work, spending time with others, but finding ways in order to like nurture yourself as well. Okay. And then internal family systems, IFS, which is listed here. So a type of therapy. This is an IFS check-in, also a reflective tool. As you can see, there's a lot of overlap between these, but one may resonate more with you than another. So this one is really noticing what part of you is activated. So the whole idea here is that there could be a part of you that's experiencing sadness, while another part of you actually could be experiencing joy around something as well too. And so those two emotions may be living at the same time. So if we're sticking with the sadness for a second, you may notice that there's a part of you that's activated, and so it's, and that part of you may even the sadness you may experience could also come off as like a part of you feeling like protective, and so maybe not wanting to do something because you're experiencing the sadness. And so it's just naming that part in the feeling that's coming up for you. And then the nurture part comes in again as well too. So making sure that you're including that you're nurturing yourself with warmth. And so even identifying for yourself, and likely you already have, but what feels nurturing for you when you're feeling like you're needing some comfort. So even just like knowing those things, knowing those things ahead of time can be really helpful to help you to lean into them. So for some people, that can even be things like arts and crafts. It could be talking to someone. It could be a moment of silence, whatever that looks like. But sometimes people even write down a list of what feels nurturing and warm, even though you know it. Just because in moments where things feel heavy, you might kind of forget, or you might even forget that it's worth it to nurture yourself in that moment. And so if you have that list, then it's something that you can even just like reference as well. So if it's in your phone or if it's written out in visual, or even if you're comfortable with it, if you have a loved one that you live with or something of that sort, maybe even if you have that agreement, maybe even they remind you of those things that help you to nurture yourself as well. So that's co-regulation. And then also what you can do, and this question is not always easy to answer, but it can sometimes it can still be good to ask, is what it needs, and it's the part of you that's maybe experiencing sadness, like what do you think that part of you needs? Does that part of you need a hug? Does that part of you need to just be sad? Like have a moment? Does that part, so just in a sense, being able to like listen to that part, if that makes sense, as a way to be able to like process through the emotion. So those are three reflective tools. Like I said, there's overlap between amongst all of them, but there may be one that speaks more to you than another. And then here's some in the moment tools. And so this is nothing new as well too. And these also may serve as reminders. But I do think that sometimes, at least I know sometimes, like I need reminders of things that are helpful in moments when things feel a little bit harder as well. And these tools also don't have to be used, of course, just when things are hard. These are also just tools that can be really helpful to help just to even maintain how you're feeling. So I heard a few of you say that you're feeling good. And so, so these are also tools that can also help to even just be supportive of you, no matter how you're feeling as well. So some in the moment tools. So even this is in the moment, even if you're in a conversation, or if you're out in public, or or you're at home and these feelings are coming up or whatever else, you can take a pause and use some breath work. Now I do realize that breath work may not necessarily work in the middle of a conversation, so you may need to step away, or if you can't step away, this may not be the go-to in that moment. But just reminding yourself to take a pause, I think can be helpful as well. And then the breath work could be very simple, so something similar to what we did at the beginning of the session or whatever may be in your practice as well. You could take a pause and use cold therapy. And so, with cold therapy, some of you may already be aware of what that is, but it's as simple as even going to this is if you're maybe feeling a bit anxious or if you're feeling like you're needing to like slow down a bit and get more in tune with yourself. You could go to a restroom or go to your own bathroom if you're at home and run your hands under cold water. And do that for a few minutes because it helps you to tune into yourself and helps you tune into your body as well too, especially when you're feeling strong emotions. Because sometimes when we're feeling stronger emotions, we're actually not ready to talk. We may not have the words or any of those things. So we actually just need to make sure our bodies are as comfortable as possible. That's really just like the number one thing to do. You could place ice in your hands, of course, not hurting yourself or not holding it so long that it's like, too cold in your hands. But placing ice in your hands really helps you to get into the present moment as well too. Because once you're in present moment, you just realize you have more choice again. And so even placing ice in your hands can be something else that's helpful or on your forehead. If you're somewhere and you're out, say like in public, and you don't have quick access to go to a restroom or things of that sort, you can also just focus on the colors you see in the room. Or even if you're talking to someone and you're feeling a bit distracted, you could just even focus on the different colors that they're wearing. So the different in the moment as well too, just to bring you back into present moment as well. So just even focusing on colors is something else that can help us to get back into our own bodies and into our own self-awareness as well. And then tapping, emotional freedom tapping EFT. I was going to go through the full system, but I'm looking at time or how to do it. But I'm looking at time, and we don't have time to actually go through all of the how to actually do that. And some of you may already be aware as well too. But tapping is something that a lot of people also find helpful as well. And so this is a therapeutic tool that you can also use. And so briefly, it's a tool that helps your brain to slow down and helps with grounding within your nervous system. And so it's a series of acupuncture points that you tap on. And usually you include also an affirmation, something like I'm feeling anxious right now, but this will pass, or something of that sort. And then there's a series of places that you tap on your body, and it's pretty easy to remember once you get used to it. And so there's a series, and also underneath your arm. as well. And so I can also send a different additional information on that if others are interested or don't already know about it. And so that may be something that you may pause and do. If you're at home, you would just do it, or if you're in another setting, you may pause and just take a second as well too. So all of these things are things you can do to tend to your nervous system. And I love talking about the nervous system, so you're going to hear me say that word a lot. Navigating difficult or awkward conversations, a lot of this is are things that are things that a lot of you have already mentioned. So they're really going to serve as reminders. And so why conversations can feel hard. You can be experiencing intrusive or unexpected questions. Sometimes there can feel like there's a lack of emotional sensitivity as well too. And there might also be the feeling, which was mentioned as well too, that you just want to be able to talk about other things, that this is not the only thing going on in your life. Yes, it's a very important thing, but you want to be able to also just feel into your humanness as a full human and be able to have a full spectrum of conversations as well. There can also just be nervous system shifts. So we're talking more about what's going on in the body when we're feeling stronger emotions or when something feels threatening, and not always just physically threatening, but it can be even emotionally threatening. We can go into fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. There can also be spoken or unspoken expectations with family or friends as well. And then we also could just physically not be feeling well as well, just feeling very maxed out. And so that can also contribute as well too, which has already been mentioned. And so, one thing that we can also do is just normalize grounding before responding. And it's not always needed, but there can be moments where you might actually want to literally exhale before answering, or orient yourself to surroundings if you're feeling a bit disoriented in a moment, or even just micro movements. So even just like moving your shoulders for a second actually creates a pause as well too, and it's also allowing you to tune into yourself before speaking as well. And it's something you could also do prior to, if it's a planned conversation, just things that you can do to take care of yourself prior to that conversation as well. So a few other tools here. And so one is LEAP. And so this is normalizing pivoting out of a conversation. And so a few you already gave examples of this. I'm going to go over this one. And there's another example of how to do the same thing. And I'm going to skip it just because I just don't think it's necessary to go through two. But this does help to reinforce what many of you have already said. And so if you're in a conversation, and this could be any conversation that you're wanting to pivot the topic on, it's to listen, empathize if that feels like it resonates and actually feels authentic to empathize in that moment, acknowledge your own boundary, and then pivot the topic. And so what that looks like here is thanks for asking. I'm taking a pause from that subject tonight and focusing on being present. I actually heard someone else already say something very similar to this in terms of what their response is. And then pivoting to how are you? Catch me up on what's new. So this is also may serve as more of a reminder of how we can pivot when needed. Brave is another way. I'm not going to go through this one just because it's really similar to the last one, and it's something that it sounds like many of you are already doing very well, of course. And then just some exit phrases to keep in your back pocket. I'm not up for the topic today. Let's focus on being together. Or even, I need a moment, I'll be back. So sometimes it's just you removing yourself from the scenario for a second so that you can tune in to yourself and take care of you as well too. All right, C. Perkins, I see your hand raised.
Can we just go
Yes,
back to the slide right prior to this one? I just want to,
the
yeah, that's the
brave.
one I want. Yes,
Yes.
please. Thank you so much. Okay,
Oh,
that's it.
oh, okay, okay. Did you just want to take it in?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
yeah.
got it though.
Okay,
I
okay,
got it.
perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. So I want to be mindful of time because we literally have 2 minutes left, and I always want to make sure that I create room for dialogue within my session. So I'm happy that we did that, and I think that that's actually really important. And so you're not missing much. So I'm just gonna briefly go over these just so you can see these slides as well too, but just some reminders and reframes. So give yourself space to feel whatever those feelings are. Scale traditions to your energy. Sounds like many of you are doing that. I heard someone give the example of like asking someone to walk you through going to the park or walk you through what the Christmas tree looks like and things of that sort. Or, it may look different for different people in terms of what your energy level is, but just making sure you scale traditions to your own energy, giving yourself permission to decline or modify, and focus on what feels supportive to you. Seek moments that feel joyful. Victoria Rosen spoke to this as well too, and so it sounds like something you've been able to really cultivate for yourself. So just a few notes here on how we can cultivate joy, and one is through being active and restful. So seeking restorative activities. So it can look like arts and crafts, things that are visible and tangible. It can be as simple as seeking comfort through your favorite socks. And so just being very intentional around what you're wearing or what's in front of you or how you decorate if you're decorating during this season, but just even what's visually in front of you as well too. And then your environment or environmental, setting the tone for yourself. So even if it's quiet mornings with coffee and that becomes a ritual, that can also be a source of joy as well too. Now I know we're right at time. So sorry, Jillian. And so I want to also be aware of everyone's time. So I'm not
No,
sure if
this is
you have a few
incredible. And this is exactly what I said was that I think that you do your grounding, you bring us all down,
minutes.
and you normalize what we all experience and give really tools, right? Because that's what we
Yeah.
want is to be on normalized, but tools. So how do we move forward when we are feeling X, Y, and Z if it's not as great? And I want to have the mindset as Victoria does because I think
Yeah.
Victoria's mindset is just so great. She's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I think this was fantastic. So I cannot thank you enough and thank you for allowing us to record this.